After brushes, it suddenly dawned on me yesterday they needed to instantly apply the higher salary rate so that they could cut it dead. But what they've done is give everyone 6 months' notice, or 4 months' notice, whatever it is, to get their acts together and make a flurry of applications. So you're going to see a surge in immigration as you come into May.
But will those figures? We won't get the annual increase, will we? Till probably much later.
Yeah, is it July or?
So they'll avoid that, and then perhaps that averts what they're worrying about is a crisis in our care homes, which are already 150,000 short carers. So get the carers in a bit quick, and then let the measures kick in.
Yeah,
maybe there's method in their madness.
And they've had the 24-hour news cycle for the last 24 hours, haven't they?
Look, all the front pages, very positive, but also making the same point. Why now? Why not 2 years ago?
Yeah, why not 2 years ago? And the other point that I think is lost on people, if I may say so, is that the gross migration figures you know, obviously much higher. So 1.2 million people came to the country last year. Under this measure, that would reduce it down to 900,000.
Still too much.
But it's still 1 million people. And the 500,000 people that left the country are bright, young British citizens who are aspirational. And that is the brain drain in operation. So when you look at migration policy, you've really got to look at it in a holistic sense with what you're doing domestically to retain brainy Brits who you want to keep in. You know, it's not just about importing high-skilled labour. It's about keeping brainy people here. And, you know, that's very simple. You make it aspirational to be in the United Kingdom. You have to cut their taxes, you have to cut SME taxes, you have
build more houses.
Build more houses, you've got to make things work. And I know a lot of young people who are Democrats at heart but are leaving to work in the Middle East and other places which are not democracies but have a 0% tax rate, and they go, well, you know, why should we be here bashing our heads against a broken economic system when we can go make money there?
And meanwhile, Ben, what is this going to do to stop a single boat crossing the Channel?
Well, this is obviously entirely legal migration, which is much worse than illegal migration. I'm going to be a bit fair to Rishi for a second. You know, he has at least got that deal with the Albanians, which did reduce the figures from last year at around 46,000 coming across the Channel to 26,000 this year. And I'm also going to attribute, if I may, while I'm on that subject, credit to Richard Tice, because it was Richard Tice who identified last June, do you remember, that there was Albanians coming across the Channel, and that tipped the government into doing a deal with Albania.
In collaboration with our very own Mark White, if you don't mind saying so.
Absolutely,
But can I also can we remind people what the agreement was with Albania and why that's worked and what it's cost us, Ben?
Yeah, so the cost, I haven't got all the costs at my fingertips. No, but you're right to point it out.
£1,500 a person, I think.
I think it's £50,000 a person.
That we give, but I think doesn't the Albanian person themselves get a little incentive? They get a little bong to go back.
To go back, they get. But I mean, if they're criminals, we then have to pay £53,000 per head in order for them to be imprisoned back in Albania. I mean, there's no shortage of cash when it comes to spraying it at the French, spraying it at the Albanians, spraying it at COP28. But if you say, please, sir, could I have a little tax cut? You don't get it, you know, and that comes back, you know, squarely to legal migration and our inability to hold people in the United Kingdom and get British workers back into the workforce. But on illegal migration, I'm slightly darting around, but on illegal migration, ultimately there's only one control, and that is border control. You have to enforce your borders. It's not about deportation. Deportation is what you do when your border control's gone wrong. And this idea that you can solve border control through domestic legal provisions allowing you to somehow eject people at a huge rate is a mistaken concept. We've got to understand that people have to be stopped at the point of entry and told quite politely, and if necessary forcefully, please turn around and go back to France.